there's no place like home for the holidays. And no matter how far away you roam, if you pine for the sunshine of a friendly gaze, for the holidays you can.
Welcome back to Horror for the Holidays, a Christmas horror movie podcast. I'm Jay Logsden.
And I'm Joseph.
It's a trap. And I'm Admiral Akbar. Oh man, did I ever tell you, Jeff, about the time that my friend and I were playing one of the last NCAA games, and I made an Admiral Akbar as the head coach of the Ole Miss Rebels because they're the Rebels, and I would just constantly like scream like Admiral Akbar quotes or just random Star Wars quotes like every time something happened in the game. My friend got like the guy I was playing with got really fed up with it real quick.
Oh, I can understand that. Every time somebody like breaks through your line, be like, "Our cruisers can't repel firepower of that magnitude."
Yeah, I'd be I'd run like a QB sneak, and I'd be like, "It's a trap."
Perfect.
Oh well, that's probably.
And playing NCAA video games, you got to find something to make it entertaining.
Yeah, because otherwise you're just stealing a bunch of money from college kids and like burning them with thousands of dollars of debt.
Yeah, not as fun as the NFL.
All right, so that's probably the last time we're gonna laugh or have a good time this episode because we're gonna deck the halls for 2022's Nutcracker Massacre.
Can we not? Can we just call this an episode?
Nope, we're doing it. We're doing Nutcracker Massacre. So we're decking the halls. Biggest star of the movie is Patrick Bergen.
No, what a big star
from Patriot Games and Sleeping with the Enemy. I don't know. I've not seen neither of those movies.
I've seen Patriot Games,
so I don't know how big a role he has in those movies. But
he has a mildly big role in Patriot Games, if I'm remembering correctly.
And you said he EastEnders.
Yes, he's on a lot of episodes of EastEnders.
He plays Dmitri, our German-Russian
I am Dmitri,
toy maker.
I do not have an ironed out accent.
Director Rebecca Matthews has been involved in a bunch of other Tubi horrors.
A bunch of garbage.
Very similar to Nutcracker Massacre. But maybe of our interest, I don't know yet, are two movies. One is called Christmas at the Ranch. Doesn't sound like it's too scary, but maybe it will be.
Oh, it may be.
And also, I don't know about this one, Merry Triple Xmas.
Really? Maybe we should check that one out.
Screenplay writer Joe Netter was in a 2019 horror film called Hanukkah, so we might have to do something with that at some point.
Yeah. And
then was involved in something called Night Terrors in 2010, where they had a segment called like Christmas Stalking. Like his IMDb photo is like a creepy Santa standing behind like a family. So I don't know what that's about. I couldn't find any more information, but that looked interesting.
I just want to tell the listeners, as you guys suffer through this review, remember that I wanted to watch Killing Tree.
Speaking of Killing Tree, we'll talk about it here in a minute. Beatrice Fletcher, who plays our main character Clara, is in Easter Bunny Massacre. So when we get to that movie, we'll do that.
Oh, it's me, Clara.
May Kelly, who plays Mousy, is also in Easter Bunny Massacre and is also in one of my most anticipated movies of last year, The Killing Tree.
Yes.
Also is going to be in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Oi, mate, it's Winnie the Pooh.
It's Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And then Elspeth Foster plays Heidi. I don't know who that character was.
I think that's the bitchy friend we thought was cheating with her boyfriend.
Okay,
she's actually the other one.
She's in Return of Krampus. And then Kelly Rim Cezanne plays Lindsay, who I also don't know who that is.
I'm pretty sure that's the cheating friend.
Okay, she's in The Killing Tree.
Oh boy, got a lot of Killing Tree crossover here.
Yep, man. The Killing Tree does look better than this movie. But then again, I'm going off that solely based off the trailer, and we thought Nutcracker Massacre would be good based off the trailer.
Say lethal injection footage looks good compared to this movie.
So we'll start our synopsis. 4 production company logos at the beginning.
Wonderful.
Not as many as Once Upon a Time at Christmas, which was, I think, 6.
But Once Upon a Time at Christmas was much more entertaining.
Yeah, certainly a much better
Apparently
movie.
the extra 2 production companies helped out.
We get a delivery driver bringing a parcel up to the front door of a house.
Oh, I've got a parcel for you, mate.
And he has to. They're only accepting deliveries in the rear. Bow chicka bow wow.
Yeah.
And so he goes around to the back of the house and he tries to perv on, I think, Clara.
No, it's Aunt Marie.
Oh, it's Aunt Marie, and
Yeah.
he's kind of like peeking in on her.
He wants to see something in there.
And then he sees a large like Nutcracker staring at him out the window. And he kind of goes around to the front of the house, and suddenly the Nutcracker's standing like in the front of the house.
And he's like, "Oh, mate, I was told I could make deliveries in Aunt Marie's rear."
And then the door like opens, and the Nutcracker comes out, and he's like, "What do you want?" And the Nutcracker grabs like a icicle and stabs him through the face, and we get our title card, Nutcracker Massacre.
Dun 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 dun. Also, the Nutcracker, when he's standing still, has like a sculpted regular Nutcracker face. Anytime he's in motion, he has a terrible like latex mask of his face.
And with like eye holes that you can clearly
It's
see.
very jarring.
Then we cut to 2 days earlier.
Yes, all the best. 4 production company logos, terrible opening, and then, of course, a jump back in time.
Clara is meeting with some friends talking about her book. We learned she's a romance novelist. And her deteriorating relationship with Paul, where apparently she and Paul were about to like, I assume like maybe move in together.
Yeah, they looked like they were ready to take the next step in their relationship, and then she found out Paul was banging somebody else.
Yeah, and she doesn't know who, but I think even at the time it's implied it's someone she knows.
We guessed immediately it was one of her friends at the table.
Aunt Marie who is inexplicably American.
Yes, she's the only American in this entire movie.
Invites Clara to come over to her house for Christmas. She also invites Paul, but Paul, Clara won't tell her why, Paul's not coming, but it's only going to be Clara. I think at this point, Jeff and I thought, maybe Paul was sleeping with Aunt Marie, but that winds up not being the case. So we get like a long, minute-long shot of Clara driving through the countryside, the British countryside.
Real-time driving.
And
you're gonna get a lot of real-time action in this movie.
Yep. They really had to pad out the hour and 20-minute runtime.
I was gonna say, could have been like a probably 15-20-minute short film.
Clara stops and buys a Nutcracker from Dimitri. This is the first time we meet him.
Oh, she tries to buy a Nutcracker, but we'll find out what she actually bought later.
And he, at one point, he puts on his fedora and nods at her, "Milady."
But no, first he's like, I should have known you were Marie's daughter. I could see the resemblance to that fine piece of ass. Of course, he did it in his mangled accent.
And I don't know, acts very weird the whole time.
He's a grade A weirdo. I'll give him that.
So then Clara goes to Aunt Marie's house and they talk about nonsense, and we're introduced to Danford, probably the star of the movie.
Danford,
who's this old butler who I think it's supposed to be like a mansion or something, but it also serves as a bed and breakfast.
Yeah. So she turned it into a bed and breakfast, I'm guessing, to make it earn extra money, but. Yeah, it's implied that her husband is dead and she's like a widow.
Mm-hmm. And Clara and Aunt Marie is, it's Clara's aunt, and her and it's her mom's sister. Yeah, is what we learn. And Clara's parents are dead.
Yeah, and Mousy is her good for nothing daughter.
Yeah, Mousy is Marie's daughter. Clara asks where Mousy is. Oh, Mousy won't get in until tomorrow. Where's Paul? Oh, I'm not sure if Paul's coming. They're both being,
This is the first moment where you see the only glimmer of anything entertaining in this movie, when Aunt Marie's like, she says something like, Danford is a full service butler, implying that he's banging her.
I love Danford. That guy's
Danford
great.
Is great.
And then at one point, Clara turns and there's just this giant Nutcracker standing by the Christmas tree. And Clara's like, oh, I got it out for Christmas this year. I thought you'd want to see it. It's been up in my attic it was in your parents' house, and I thought you'd want to see it again from when you were a kid or something like that.
This is her first series of flashbacks. Like, oh god.
So like a giant, like almost like 7-foot tall Nutcracker.
She's like, something seems really familiar about this, and it's like, yeah, you see it everywhere.
That slowly starts like, oh no. At one point, like I think Clara says something about like, oh yeah, you don't see Nutcrackers very often. Oh, you're starting to see them more places. Like you see them all the fucking time.
That's what Dimitri says when she's at the store. He's like, oh yes, Nutcrackers have become more popular lately.
No, they've been popular my whole life. What are you talking
For
about?
like 100+ years, they've been popular.
But there's this, but the Nutcracker, moves the whole time it's on this. Like,
oh yeah,
every time they zoom in on it, you kind of see it swaying back and forth.
Also, we need to make a note. There's like a regular Christmas tree, which the Nutcracker stands by, and then there's this weird Christmas bush.
With like the top chopped off of it.
There's no top on this Christmas tree. Were they not able to afford a whole extra Christmas tree? Or what?
Probably not. Not with the budget that I could not find on IMDb. Clearly, they couldn't afford 2 Christmas trees.
They made this for nothing. I mean, clearly Aunt Marie is a porno actor.
The present that Clara got her, turns out it was supposed to be a Nutcracker. That's what Clara thought it was supposed to be, but it turns out it's a Sugar Plum Fairy.
The Sugar Plum Fairy.
And they go to bed that night. I think Clara like kind of chats with Paul, and then she tells Aunt Marie that like, oh no, Paul's not coming because I found out he was cheating on me. And she's like texting Paul like, tell me who it is, and Paul won't tell her. And then we see the Sugar Plum Fairy like start to glow, and then it like launches laser beams out of its eyes at the star on top of the Christmas tree, and then they refract into the eyes of the Nutcracker, and the Nutcracker starts to move.
Ancient spirits of evil, transform this decayed form into Nutcracker, the ever-living.
And we get we then get kind of a chopped up openings, like version of our opening segment of the delivery man getting killed by the Nutcracker.
I was gonna say, we get to see that glorious murder twice. At least they sped it up the second time.
And then that morning, Marie, or I think Clara's getting breakfast with Danford's getting breakfast for Clara and Marie, and Marie's daughter Mousy shows up with her boyfriend James, who Mousy almost forgets the name of.
Yeah, James is a pretty forgettable name.
And and Mousy and Clara, there's clearly some tension between the two of them.
There's tension between Mousy and everybody because she's a huge bitch.
It really does seem like so what I think I'm reading, I don't know if it's even reading between the lines, it might be stated outright. But like Clara was essentially raised by Marie.
Yeah.
Because her parents died. So like she and Mousy, they're raised like sisters, but they kind of hate each other.
Basically, it seems like she was the daughter that Marie actually wanted, and then Mousy was a real daughter that she didn't care for.
No, that seems absolutely right.
Which, I mean, that would create some problems, yeah.
Later that night, Paul shows up outside of Marie's house, and then for whatever reason, Clara's friend is also outside of Marie's house.
Somehow she found out Paul was going to be there and made her way there in time to stop him from going inside.
And like she's like, no, you can be with me, Paul. And Paul's like, no, I don't want to be with you. And so the friend stalks off, and the Nutcracker then... we watch as the Nutcracker watches her from the shadows and pulls up a pair of ice skates and then slits this friend's throat with the ice skates.
A Nutcracker stepped from the shadows.
So they're all Clara, Marie, Danford, James, and Mousy are all having dinner when Paul walks in. Oh, hey, I'm here. And Clara, you're not supposed to be here. And they go up and talk. And then Danford turns, he's like, well, does anyone want dessert? And James is like, oh, I do. And Mousy's like, no, you don't.
No, you don't, you fucking asshole. Shut your fucking mouth or I'll kill you.
So
also, Mousy is a bitch to Danford, which is pretty much unforgivable.
Yeah, Danford's the best character.
It's like, that man does nothing but try to help you.
And so then Clara and Paul go upstairs and argue, and Mousy is listening at the door, and like James walks out of the bathroom like, no, what's going on here?
He's like, are you gonna come to bed? And she's like, no.
And so James then like walks to the end of the hall and opens a door, and we see the Nutcracker standing at the end of the hall.
And James is like, well, if I'm not going to get laid, then at least I'm going to have dessert.
And so, yeah, so he goes downstairs and he like goes and like fishes out some of the dessert that Danford made, and then he goes and gets a Nutcracker. He finds some walnuts, and he goes to crack them open.
A brownie with adding some walnuts to the top, like, oh, I'll show you, bitch.
And so he's eating this, and then the Nutcracker comes to life and cracks
his nuts.
cracks James's nuts as we see a full-on metal Nutcracker to James's ball sack.
Yes, his very fake plastic ball sack.
The only nudity we get in this movie is this fake plastic ball sack with blood dripping all over.
It's like, are you serious? In a schlock shit fest like this, I at least want to see some titties.
So
that's the only reason to watch a movie like this, and we get nothing.
No,
these women dressed like nuns.
No, at one point later on, Mousy is trying to be sexy, and she takes her shirt off and is still wearing like a long sleeve shirt.
Yes, she's got a sweater under her sweater. It's like, are you fucking serious?
Oh, what a silly movie. So the next morning, and while Clara makes Paul sleep on like the fainting couch next to her bed.
Oh heavens!
And in her sleep, like in like her like dreams, Clara sees like the monstrous Nutcracker face like looking at her.
But is it a dream?
She wakes up the next morning, and it turns out James and the Nutcracker are missing.
They're missing, all right. Oh, yeah. You know where they're missing? I think it even shows it in the shot. There's clearly a corpse wrapped up in wrapping paper in the corner of the room. It's like, are you all blind?
And so then they all go to investigate. I think Clara and Paul are going to go to town to see if they can find a guy in a large Nutcracker.
Their working theory is that he stole the Nutcracker because, somebody would want that creepy piece of shit.
Yeah. So they're going to go into town and see if they can find a guy with a large Nutcracker that I assume he planned on turning into a sex doll is what their thought process is.
We're going to go back to the Nutcracker dealer because, every town has one of those.
Yeah.
We're going to talk to old Dimitri so we can get a fucking, 5-minute long exposition
We get full of these weird flashback scenes where Dimitri basically at one point says like, Nutcracker, like there's a song about Nutcrackers, or there's a play about Nutcrackers, and it's like, and Clara's like, are you expecting us to believe that that's real? He's like, well, stories might be real, or something stupid like that.
Something incredibly dumb. But yeah, it's like, no, the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies is part of a ballet. It's not a play.
And so he then like goes and explains that there was I don't know that I could get this right. I'm sure you might know better than me, Jeff.
I've got it all memorized.
All right.
So there was a German soldier who joined the army to see the world, even though that makes absolutely no sense. You would join the Navy to see the world, but still, he joined the army to see the world. And for some inexplicable reason, as a German soldier, was traveling through Russia in 1890, where he saw a performance of the Nutcracker play that exists only in this movie. And he was so mesmerized by it that he decided he would right the wrongs of the world and kill the real-life Mouse King, who was causing pain and death and pestilence. And they're also referencing a plague. I think it was either tuberculosis or typhoid fever, one of the two, that's been racking Europe at the time. So apparently that is supposed to have driven him over the edge. But yeah, apparently he becomes a psychotic murderer, tries to find two girls, find out which one is pure to be his queen. So he executes one, and then it's implied the other one tricks him into thinking she's a pure maiden or whatever.
And then like she kills him, yes. But they both like imbibe these weird.
She's the sugar plum fairy. So to understand this, now he found magic rocks or crystals that apparently when you eat it turns you into an evil psychopath. And so he eats one, and then he feeds this girl one. And then soldiers break in and shoot him and the woman before they can enact their evil plan. But apparently the evil crystal has preserved their souls. They can't actually be destroyed.
And so while this is going on, Danford goes down to the basement of the house.
To get some wine.
Yeah, and it turns out he's like, oi, who's that moving over there?
Is that you, James?
And James, is that you? And it's clearly the Nutcracker.
Yes, obviously.
Like, it's lit from behind, but it's still clearly the Nutcracker.
You can see his soldier's cap in silhouette.
And Danford, like, gets up close and turns the lights on, and then he goes, oh, no! As he's killed by the Nutcracker.
He's like, oh, everyone's been looking for you.
And then he gets killed by the murderous
Yes,
Nutcracker.
fucking Danford.
Outside the house, outside the shop, Paul admits that he doesn't believe the story, even though Clara does believe.
And honestly, Paul is the smart one in this situation because the insane ramblings of this weirdo who owns a Nutcracker dealership. I mean, are we really gonna buy this shit?
So Clara and Paul are still fighting by the time they get back to Aunt Marie's house. And then Clara like storms out of the room, and Mousy like sneaks in and tries to seduce Paul, and that's where we get the scene where Mousy takes off her sweater to reveal another sweater underneath.
She's like, "Oi, mate, I'm here to seduce you. How about a little neckline for you? Oh, you like that neckline? How about a little ankle? Get you horny yet?
Oh, I bet that makes you Randy."
Yeah, I'll go give me a right Roger and I bet."
Mousy, so then Clara like comes in, finds Mousy like on top of Paul, and Paul like pushes her off, and they go and argue. And while that's happening,
Also,
the Nutcracker tries to smother Mousy.
Can we just stop for a second? Why is she so mad about this? It looked ridiculous. They were both fully clothed on the bed. It's, if they were both naked, I could see that. It's like, oh, what is she like riding him like a horse? What is this?
They're wrestling.
Oh yeah,
they're
no, see, they're actually wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, like when you tell your kids you're wrestling.
Mousy gets attacked and tries to get smothered with a pillow.
On a garland after that. Yeah.
And so then what happens is like Clara and Paul are like, go back in and ask her, go back in, and they go in and they can't find Mousy anywhere. And it turns out that Mousy is like in the closet with the Nutcracker, and the Nutcracker grabs like some garland with some Christmas lights strung into it and strangles her with it.
Oh, but wait. First, she gets the Nutcracker's hand off of her mouth, screams, "Help me, help me," at the top of her lungs, and they just walked out the door.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, they couldn't hear something from a closet in the room they just left.
There's absolutely no way they would not have heard her screaming. But yeah, no, apparently the Nutcracker also muffles her voice with his powers.
But yeah, so then Mousy gets killed.
Good riddance.
They kind of let Marie know what's going on, and and Clara lets Marie kind of in on her theory. And Marie goes down into the basement, and that's when we find Danford murdered with candy cane shoved around his eyes, not in his eyes.
Around his eyes. It was clearly destroying him.
And then also a candy cane in his mouth.
And then Aunt Marie turns, and the Nutcracker's at the top of the stairs,
breathing heavily in her direction as he walks down the stairs, and the basement door closes, and we hear Marie yell, "No!"
And the Nutcracker's like, "Oh, Jesus, getting up down these stairs in this house is ridiculous."
And at some point, Clara puts like two and two or somehow like puts something together and realizes that like her mother and Marie were like the two sisters in the play.
Yes.
Or in the story that Dimitri told. And which then, did Clara's mother also have an inexplicable American accent and we just don't know?
Yes, apparently. She was the only American in England at the time.
And so they go to try to find Marie, and they're walking up the stairs, and the Nutcracker like walks up behind them, and Paul's like, "Clara, you run, I'll fight him off," as the Nutcracker just bashes his head in with a hammer.
Go on without me.
And we watch Clara walk up every single step in the house as slowly as possible.
Oh my God. Also, the Nutcracker, you think Jason Voorhees moves slow? You should see this fucker move. Literally, it's like watching some guy. It's almost like it's some guy in a heavy suit he can barely see out of trying to walk upstairs. But yeah, it's ridiculously slow. And yes, the blow that he lands on Paul looks like it would barely even hurt. And Paul like crumples to the ground.
Clara then sneaks into a bathroom in the house and hides in the bathtub. And whatever that meme that was going around for a while of the girl from that HBO show like covering her mouth, hiding in the shower with the shower curtain closed. Like it looks very similar to that.
Can we just stop for a second? And it's like, if this movie had not tried to take itself seriously, it could have been so good.
No, absolutely.
It's like they try to play this completely straight.
And so then Clara like hears a noise, and then it turns out it's Paul. He survived getting his head bashed in with a hammer. "Oh, Paul, I'm so glad you're safe." The Nutcracker just walks into the room. It's like attacks Clara, and Paul like grabs us like, "No, run, Clara!" Yeah. And Clara runs out, and the Nutcracker grabs Paul's head and smashes it in the side of the bathtub.
Like, die, you stupid fuck.
So Clara hides in her bedroom, and finds Mousy's body like all strangled up, but like stops herself from screaming as the Nutcracker leaves.
Also, this Nutcracker is so ridiculously slow. Just leave the house, get
Right.
in your car, and drive away.
No, yeah, you would have been perfectly fine.
You probably could walk past him in the hallway without him being able to grab you.
And then here comes Paul walking into somehow Paul knew where Clara was
Yes.
every single time Clara was hiding.
Somehow Paul survived because it's in the script.
Paul survives more than Busta Rhymes does in Halloween Resurrection. He just keeps coming back.
Oh, Paul.
And so Paul comes in and they find these crowns that I think Mousy had brought earlier in the movie. And Clara formulates an idea. We cut to outside and
He's gonna sacrifice Aunt Marie.
yep, the Nutcracker has a knife up to Aunt Marie's throat, and Aunt Marie's holding the Sugar Plum Fairy doll in her hands. And she's like, just let my family go. Send me to the land of sweets, is I think the line that she says. And then you hear the best line in the whole movie. You hear Clara in poorly dubbed ADR say, "Hey, nutfucker."
Oh, yeah, and I think she drops her accent there for a minute too.
And they're both wearing the crowns, and they're like, "We're the Mouse King and Queen that you've been looking for. Come fight us."
And he's like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna come fight you."
So so they shoot him with a gun, and the Nutcracker falls to the ground. Paul stupidly goes up to investigate.
Also, can we laugh at the fact that Paul looks like a literal walking sack of shit by this point?
He's got like bandages wrapped around his head, blood streaming down his face.
So naturally, yeah, he goes up to check, like he could take any more beatings.
And the Nutcracker comes alive, starts strangling Paul. Clara runs up, fights him off, or tries to fight him off. The Nutcracker then like pins Clara down, and like Paul's standing there debating like, should I hit the Nutcracker with this hammer?
I know, it's supposed to be one of those moments like, oh, I don't want to hit her by accident. It's like, you could clearly just smash this Nutcracker.
So he turns around and he hits the Sugar Plum Fairy, and he finds one of the dumb little gems inside of it.
One of the soul gems.
And like the Nutcracker gets some kind of like distraction or whatever, and they're able to like shoot him again a bunch.
It's implied that he's the ghost of the German soldier, so that must be the ghost of his queen. So he wanted to try and protect it.
Yeah, and so they're able to like destroy the Nutcracker and destroy the little gem in his hand.
Both the gems have been destroyed,
And they're all kind of like enjoying whatever, enjoying
whatever
Christmas.
the fuck this was.
And then we cut back to the toy store where Dimitri, it's the middle of the night. Dimitri flips the sign to open and fogs up the window and draws a question mark in the fog. And then goes into his shop and opens a little dresser drawer and pulls out more gems and then we pan out and it says such and such, Dimitri's toy shop or some shit like that on the side of the building, and the movie ends.
Fuck me. Question mark. You know what the question mark is? Why the fuck did you watch this movie?
Yeah, it's almost like they're gonna be like, oh, we're gonna have Nutcracker Massacre too. I don't know that you are, but sure, go ahead.
I mean, obviously they made this movie for no money, so I'm sure they could make a sequel. But yeah, apparently, even though they imply that the reason that this Nutcracker came to life is because it was infused with one of these soul gems. So is he just saying he's got a bunch of different souls trapped in this drawer?
I think that's the implication. I think he's got more souls trapped in the...
So why don't we go after Dimitri, the fucking necromancer, instead of the Nutcracker?
Nope, we're just going to completely just let him get away.
We're just gonna fight his revenants till the end of time.
So let's get into our minutia at the end of the episode.
Let's not.
Where do you want to start with, Jeff?
Oh, does it even matter? I guess we could do some quotes to change things up.
All right, let's go with our Christmas carols, our favorite quotes from the movie.
Hey, nutfucker.
Hey, nutfucker. That is the best line in the whole movie.
Danford is a full-service butler.
There was also a line where Mousy says, he puts the butt in butler.
Yeah.
and I think Aunt Marie looks at her like, what does that mean? And Mousy's like, I'm trying to make a joke.
Yeah. I mean, what was... I think it's... I mean, it's a cliched line, but I thought it was hilarious. When Clara comes in, and Mousy's on top of him, straddling him, and he's like, it's not what it looks like. It's like, what does it look like? Two fully clothed adults sitting on top of each other on the bed.
There's one line where Paul and Clara go to visit Dimitri to figure out what's going on with the Nutcracker. For whatever reason, they think he's the guy to talk to. And at one point, like, Dimitri's like, oh, Ouija boards, we used to commune with the spirits. But, now Milton Bradley sells them. And then
Ouija board made with quality materials.
Paul says, we're not buying a Ouija board. And Dimitri says, good, because I wouldn't sell you one.
Oh, also, just to call back to the thing you mentioned earlier, that's just a story. Sometimes stories are true.
Yep. Oh my God!
He's fluctuating between his Russian, German, and Irish accents.
Oh my God! What a stupid movie.
Aye, sometimes stories are true, laddie. I'm a Scot now.
Let's you know what? Let's do Broken Bulb, Brilliant Bulb.
Broken Bulb, the entire movie. Brilliant Bulb, someone killing the director before the movie could be made.
My Broken Bulb is, I think, I kind of thought about it because you keep getting the deep breathing and the slow walking.
Yes.
Clearly they wanted to do like reminiscent of Michael or Jason.
Yeah.
Something like that.
A methodical slasher.
I would have just had Dimitri be the killer Nutcracker.
Yes.
I think you could have made a more interesting movie with just Dimitri putting on a Nutcracker suit and going around murdering people.
Yeah.
As opposed to whatever the fuck this was.
And you see, that would have made a lot more sense if they were going to take it seriously to have it be him.
But yeah, no, instead there's some kind of weird supernatural element. Dimitri's also involved.
Yeah.
But oh no, the main issue is that we destroy the soul gems inside the Nutcrackers.
He's only involved as the necromancer who animates the Nutcracker.
My Brilliant Bulb is the trailer, because we watched the trailer and we went, that looks like it might be funny. Like that looks very silly. Let's watch it. It could potentially be good. And instead we like watch the listen to this episode, you'll know the whole story, and then just watch the trailer. That's all you need to do.
Really, that would be better. All right, I'll do my serious ones now. Broken Bulb, the fact that they did not lean into this concept and make it more like a comedy, like, they could have done like a scary movie type thing where they parodied Christmas horror movies and have this like incredibly inept Nutcracker killer. But no, they try to play it completely straight, and it's incredibly boring.
That would be a great idea, a Christmas scary movie.
Yeah.
Like,
just take all the tropes from all the Christmas horror.
Hey, Wayne's Brothers? Is those the guys? Hey, Wayne's Brothers, make that movie. Let Jeff and me watch that movie.
Brilliant Bulb, Aunt Marie's pretty hot. I like watching that.
Let's do Christmas sweater, outfits, scenery, set decorations, things like that you want to shout out.
Honestly, nothing is really memorable in this movie. People's costumes are incredibly lame. The Nutcracker is not well done. He looks, we pointed it out earlier. You could literally see the eye holes in his latex mask.
Oh, you kind of mentioned it. Yeah, at one point they discover that like James is like wrapped in like Christmas wrapping paper. Like his dead body is. That is probably that. Besides that, James's death itself with the fucking his nuts getting cracked, and then also the James wears a Christmas sweater. James is all my shout outs in the Christmas section. James wears like a white and red Christmas sweater. That looks nice. I'd wear that Christmas sweater.
But no, as far as the set goes, it's like it's stereotypical like English like 70s 80s manor house, and just. Honestly, I was a little disappointed because I was hoping that Danford would be dressed in like an actual butler's uniform, but he's pretty much just dressed in like street clothes.
Nah, Danford's a bro. Danford just fucking goes around and does what he wants.
Danford's just hanging out, dicking down Aunt Marie.
I hope Danford winds up still being alive if we get a Nutcracker Massacre too. We get more Danford.
He better be.
So let's do our Christmas spirit, kind of how Christmassy is the movie, how Christmassy are the kills. I think the movie tried to be Christmassy.
It tried, but it wasn't very successful.
No, there's like 2 Christmas trees, and like, that's it.
Yeah, the fact it's like they're getting together for Christmas, but they never really have like a Christmas dinner. They never mention giving each other presents or anything. It's like it's pretty much just window dressing.
No, yeah, like they wanted it to be a Christmas movie, but clearly it couldn't be.
Yeah.
And also, way too sunny to be Christmas in England, I think.
Yeah.
Like it was clearly filmed in the summer.
Yeah, just too sunny in general for England.
And so I was sitting there and I was just like, no, nothing screamed Christmas other than those two trees that you see and the fact that there's a killer nutcracker. There might be a couple decorations outside that are Christmassy, but and then the giant killer nutcracker.
So you never really see the exterior of the house long enough to appreciate any decorations there might be. So
I would say the kills being Christmassy. I mean, a little bit more.
I'd say, yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, other than the Garland kill was pretty Christmassy. I mean, the nut kill wasn't really that Christmassy.
I mean, other than it's a nutcracker cracking a nut. I mean,
honestly, what happens afterwards is more Christmassy when he wraps him up in the wrapping paper.
True, I'd agree with that. The Danford getting is supposed to be implied. Candy cane shoved in his eyeballs.
Yeah, it's like it would have been nice if we'd actually been able to see that.
But no, instead we just kind of see the remnants, but the candy canes are just sitting on his eyes, not in his eyes.
Because candy canes would never melt either.
And then stabbing with the icicle.
Yeah.
Like I think the kill, in a strange way, the kills are more Christmassy than the movie is Christmassy itself.
I would agree with that.
So let's do our final ranking, I guess. Am I missing anything?
We better go back and check. Let's see, we did the quotes, we did the sets, we did the broken bulb, brilliant bulb.
We did our Christmas spirit. So let's get into our final rankings. We rank these movies on one of three possible rankings. Is it ho 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 hilarious? Is it seasonally scary? Or is it you'll be sorry? I think you can figure out what Jeff and I are both going to say.
It's been a while, but we got ourselves a you'll be sorry, folks. This one is it is torturous to get through. We had to pause it a few times while we were watching it, so it made it feel even longer. But no, it's like we were just watching the clock the entire time, which we've said before is the worst feeling in one of these movies.
No, it's an hour and 20-minute movie. Everything is like padded out to the extreme. We watch people walk like everywhere. Yes. I'm surprised we didn't get a scene of Clara and Paul walking from Aunt Marie's house to Dimitri's shop.
Yes.
Like we watched them walk up like every single step, and they walk up everything as slowly as possible.
Like I said earlier, this could have been like a 15-20-minute short film.
Or you just do something fun. We don't need all the dialogue. We don't need every single thing explained to us. Oh my
God, the fucking exposition. My God.
Like, just tighten that stuff up. And go at it from a different angle, and I think you've got a fun movie here. But this was just torture.
Let's just put it this way: the level of exposition in this movie would make an anime writer blush.
Like I cannot believe we had to reiterate that Clara and Paul were having problems 5 different times over the course of the movie.
Well, I mean, we got to do something to pad this thing out to feature length.
Right?
Tubi is expecting a feature length film.
I truly don't know how we got what we got when there were options. We talked about it. Either lean into it, make it very silly, and treat it silly, or if you're gonna go serious, just have someone in a nutcracker suit murdering people in a town.
I'll say either go serious or go silly. You can't do a hybrid. You can do one, but it very rarely works, and this did not have the budget to pull it off.
No, and it doesn't work. And they want to treat it silly, but then they make a dumb supernatural thing, or they want to treat it serious, but then they make a dumb supernatural thing. Mm-hmm. No, just have there be a person in a nutcracker suit murdering people.
And it's like it was clearly a guy in a suit when you're seeing the kills. So it's like, have it be Dimitri.
Yep, and then you don't have to do the dumb thing with the fucking monster face.
Yes,
that the nutcracker turns into after the kills. Truly, the nutcracker face was creepier than the freaking fanged monster face that we see the rest of every time it's about ready to kill someone.
See, you could have made this a lot better by having an opening scene of Aunt Marie instead of the stupid delivery driver thing. Have her go to Dimitri's store and buy this full-size nutcracker and bring it to her house, and be that marks her as a target for Dimitri to come kill this Christmas. And then she just happens to have this family over while he comes to do it.
I agree. I think that would have that small thing probably would have made the movie slightly more enjoyable.
It's like, no, we just inexplicably had this haunted nutcracker.
Oh, sorry about that. There's a snoring dog in this room.
Big old snoring dog.
So yeah, let's do our naughty list. I guess my first question for you, Jeff, is who's the villain of this movie?
The director.
Like, I think we have to say it's the Nutcracker, but it could be argued that it's Dimitri.
I mean, it's probably Dimitri. I mean, honestly, based on the amount of physical pain I suffered while watching it, Mousy is also a villain.
But like, okay, if we're gonna say, the Nutcracker's the one with the kills,
Yes.
like, all that stuff. I think the Nutcracker. I don't know. Do we imply that the Nutcracker has killed like people all throughout time?
I don't know if you could imply that or not, because all we ever see is him get killed.
Yep.
And then kill these people.
And so I'm gonna have to say we put him pretty low on the list.
I was gonna say he's bottom tier for me. I think Brooklyn Santa could probably kick his ass.
That was what I was gonna say. I think he's worse than To All a Good Night, but better than Kenny in because Kenny's at least kind of and Terrence Shade.
Yeah.
Because they're like, less bad than these guys.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say it's like I think Brooklyn Santa could kick his ass because I mean Clara and Paul, who's been beat half to death, were the ones who defeat him.
Yep. Smash him with a
And it's like he's incredibly slow. He has no special resistances or anything. It's like they kill him basically with a hammer and a gun.
and like it's an old timey gun too, because probably it's probably Danford's from when he served in the war.
I was gonna say it's Danford's service revolver from the Boer War.
And I think they just get he gets killed so easily, and people are just the kills are creative, but it's so easy to beat him at the end.
And you could tell he has no like super strength or anything. Mousy overpowers him enough to take his hand off her mouth and scream.
Yep. Oh man. What a strange movie.
I mean, he is, as far as slashers go, he's bottom of the barrel pathetic.
Last week or last episode, not last week, we said we were going to do a bad one, and I think we absolutely did that. We picked a terrible movie.
I wanted to see sleigh bells.
So every episode we like to close out by either shoving some garbage in our mouths or cleaning out our email inbox in a segment we like to call
Garbage Day! Huh? No!
All right, so this email this week comes from Amy, and it says, "Horror for the holidays. I saw that Jay and his wife got Final Girl tattoos on Twitter, and I saw that his wife got a Sydney from Scream tattoo. I'm kind of paraphrasing here.
Yeah.
I saw that Jay and his wife got Final Girl tattoos, and I saw that she got Sydney from Scream. Have you seen the trailer for the new Scream? What did you think? Thoughts?"
I thought it was pretty good. I'm interested in seeing it. I was kind of surprised it's coming out so soon. But yeah, I'll definitely go check it out.
Yeah, for those of you who didn't see the social media thing, my wife and I got Final Girl tattoos. I got Jess Bradford, Olivia Hussey from Black Christmas talking on a phone, and my wife got Sidney Prescott and Nev Campbell from Scream also talking on a phone. That was kind of the idea. They're both talking on phones.
Yeah, they look really good.
My wife loves Scream. It's probably one of her that and Happy Birthday to Me are like her two favorite horror movies.
Oh man, I thought it was Happy Death Day to You.
Oh, I love. Oh no, it'd be Happy Death Day. I love both those movies. But onto the subject of Scream, I loved the trailer. I thought it was awesome. People are losing their shit because like Ghostface picks up a shotgun at one point.
Yeah.
And why does it matter? Like Ghostface didn't introduce the shotgun. Somebody pulled a shotgun on him.
Yeah.
Or her. We don't know who Ghostface
True.
is.
It looks like multiple Ghostface eye.
Yeah, I think I don't know why people are losing their shit. Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich both use guns.
I was gonna say it's not like this. It's out of character.
Yeah, like I think just about every Ghostface has used a gun at some point. And once again, he didn't bring the gun. The gun was pulled on him. He's using a knife most of the time.
But I mean, also Ghostface could kick Nutcracker Massacre as Nutcracker's ass.
Oh, very easily. I think kind of general thoughts about the movie. I think Gail's probably gonna die.
Yeah, probably.
It seems very likely. I I still think we're gonna get Sydney in the movie. I think there was an issue with Nev Campbell and contracts and stuff like that. I think you got to get it done. It's her franchise. Like,
I think they may have played up those contract problems just to make people think, oh, she's not going to show up.
Yep. So that way it'll be a bigger surprise when she does. For a while now, my wife has thought, and so I've kind of ho-hummed around it. My wife has thought that Stu, Matthew Lillard's character, Stu Macher, didn't die.
Yeah.
My wife has been a firm believer that Stu is still alive, especially because there's that weird, Matthew Lillard showed up on the set of Scream 2 and is like in the background of the party scene. Now it's clearly an accident when it happened.
Yeah.
But boy, it would be real interesting to be like, oh no, Stu survived and has basically been pulling the strings for these other ghost faces the rest of the time.
That would be crazy.
And he's like the current season of Criminal Minds. My wife is a big fan of that. And like there's a serial killer who's like telling other serial killers what to do and like orchestrating stuff. And it'd be real interesting if like Stu has just been pulling the strings this whole time.
Right.
And then, would make Dewey's death mean something if Dewey was actually killed by Stu, not one of these punk kids from Scream 5. Like,
yeah, just have him be stepping in like to do certain kills to get like revenge for himself. And then having these other people take the fall.
Yeah, and it would be perfect. It would
make all the other movies a lot more interesting.
Yeah, if you just kind of like set seeds throughout the movie that like, oh no, it's been Stu the whole time.
Yeah, no, that would be cool to make it like have they do flashbacks to other Scream movies and show what he was doing.
You have like the certain murders, like some of the ones that maybe hurt the most, maybe the death of, like I said, the death of Dewey and oh shoot, who's Sydney's friend who survives the first movie? The guy who's the big horror movie fan.
Oh,
his name. I feel like an idiot. I should know.
I can't remember his name.
But he gets killed in Scream 2. You have that be Stu. Like, but then you have some of the more clumsy, some of the more silly kills. Yeah, these are the people who haven't been orchestrating this, and so it's just been like Stu's still out for revenge. Stu's still trying to get get Sidney Prescott killed.
I mean, it would make a lot of sense since she essentially ruined their lives.
Yeah, and so I kind of didn't put any stock in that, but the whole Ghostface shrine that we saw, and just like the fact like just a handful of things, I'm like, no, I do think it's going to be Stu this time. I think that's the direction we're going. Also, very cool that Kirby's back. So shout out to Hayden Panettiere.
Also, very unsettling that I do not see this being much of a leap as far as like a fantasy concept of having a cult based around a serial killer. I'm pretty sure we could make an easy leap to that in reality.
Yeah, I think we're pretty close to that. I mean, the way people act about like the Dahmer show on Netflix, like we're getting pretty close to that. Plus, I think Jared Leto has some kind of weird cult that follows him around or something.
It follows 30 Seconds to Mars around.
Anything else you want to say about Scream?
Just that I'm looking forward to seeing it.
No, I think it's going to be a blast.
My wife's a big fan of it too, so
that and Evil Dead Rise, both the two trailers we got, in these last couple of weeks have just both looked fantastic.
Oh, if you're looking for a good horror movie to tide you over, go see Megan.
M. Thregan.
Yes, M. Thregan is a solid film.
I do want to check it out. I think it looks like a lot of fun. But yeah, let's if you want to get in touch with us, send us an email for Garbage Day. You can do that at horrorfortheholidays@gmail.com. Just the name of our podcast, horrorfortheholidays@gmail.com. If you want to get in touch with us on social media, we are on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Yeah, at horror the number 4 holidays. We're available on all good podcast platforms.
And some bad ones.
And some bad ones, too. Send us, give us 5 stars, write us a review, subscribe, tell a friend, all that good stuff.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Horror for the Holidays, to get our audio backups. If you like to listen to it at work or whatever, you want to download it ahead of time, it's a good place to do that.
Leave a comment. We like hearing from people. It's always fun to get interactions with people.
I don't. I hate hearing from people.
And, if you didn't like the podcast, go out to iTunes and write a 5-star review. I love Nutcracker Massacre. What the fuck is wrong with these idiots?
Yeah,
leave that review and let 5 stars. These idiots hate Nutcracker Massacre. What the fuck is wrong with them?
I got a review tailor-made for you guys. If you hate this podcast, go give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, right? Jay and Jeff, the letter R, dumb, fat.
Perfect review. You leave that and let us know how much you hate this podcast, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening. Bye.